Welcome to Unboxing, Play and Profit for the Gaming Curious. I'm Laine Joost.
En I'm Joost van Dreunen.
And we're here digging deep on why games matter in today's economy. On the docket today, Friday, July 18th, summer's not over, but teaching's almost here. We're giving you an inside peek on what's to come this fall and a big old deep dive on what needs to change. Come along with us as we share our secrets and brainstorm our students' futures. All that and more with your two very thoughtful co-hosts, but first, we've got some catching up to do. So relieved to see some hair on your face again.
Yeah, my whole family feels the same way. The beard took a summer vacation. That's what was happening.
Do you have any service professional in your life that you only ever saw with a mask for several years? I met my PT and my current stylist during COVID. So just a couple years went by where I never saw the lower half of their faces. And when I did, it was so upsetting.
Yeah, oh my God. You're ugly.
I had just mentally filled in a much hotter person.
I can't be seen with these mediocre.
I was oh, they just have a normal face. I don't know what I was what I was thinking.
I'm always reminded of there's that scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but the whole movie you are shown Jessica Rabbit, and then at one point they're pursuing a suspect who wears the same dress and turns around, and it's Lena, and Lena has buck teeth or something, and it's So that's what I imagine when you tell me that. It's sort of people surprise you. It's
no, they're just great people. I just don't know what I was filling in, but it wasn't what I saw. I just thought it was a whole different thing under there. But
it's a surprise.
These are relatable anecdotes.
Yes, this is what the people want. They want to relate to your weird mask folktales.
You almost made me spit on audio. All right.
No, I don't have any service professional of that nature. People are always out of context. That's one thing. I did this martial arts class for years, and then you see one of those people in the street. You're like, "Huh? I know you. I feel like I should fight you," but it's a total. It's Jimmy from martial arts class. So there's when people are out of context, I can't handle it, or students for that matter. Sometimes, I'm not. Do you work at a company that I work with, or you're a student? So I'm very bad contextually like that.
And I once, try living on campus. So take that and magnify it by 100. You're just in a bad mood coming home from the grocery store and you have to interact with a student. I think I once ran into a student outside the Crate and Barrel on Broadway, and then I realized when it was over, my fly was down. I was just I hate this. I'm just trying to go buy a meat tenderizer. Can I just be left alone?
My tip to you is don't bum cigarettes around the New York University area.
Have you bummed a cigarette from a former student? Joost loves to bum a cigarette.
That's the best way to smoke
after a couple drinks.
And so I roll up, hey, and it's oh, hi, professor. You're shit. It's you feel just so seen. You're no, I'm supposed to be an adult. I'm not supposed to be a person who has fun. I can only be this. So yes, I recognize.
I can't do that because I teach that class of 240, and I'm I don't know who's in here. Anybody could be here, they come up to me and they're hi, professor. And I'm who the fuck are you?
It's just your fame.
I just go to the front of the lecture hall and I stare into the lights Audra McDonald or something in Gypsy. I'm I'm not really here.
Okay, big shot. Just blinded by the lights. Oh no, who are you, small people?
That's right. I just saw that play 2 weeks ago, so I guess it's on my mind.
It's topical. Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's just, at some point it becomes a blur. I totally get that, and it's just volume based. I mean, I think it happens to every professor and teacher. It's once you have enough people in your surroundings, it just becomes hard. Some people are excellent at it. I'm not one of those people, but students also stay out of sight, so it's sort of mutual in some ways.
Sometimes. But I follow up on something you mentioned earlier.
Mm.
You did martial arts?
Yes,
What martial art did you do?
I did ninjutsu. It's like,
Ninjutsu?
yeah,
Jujutsu?
no, ninjutsu, like where you stab people a lot and a
Is
lot of
that a real martial art? Or
yes.
is
So it's like grown men mostly in pajamas, and so it's but they wear the black gis. It's 9 schools of ninjutsu, different styles of jitsu. So you have bojitsu and all these different staffs, and then you
Oh,
have
okay.
all kinds of kata. And it was, I don't know why I started doing that, but it seemed interesting. I stuck with it. And then I had to sort of see it through. It's like, all right, let me at least get the black belt, which is basically like your driver's license, because that's first Dan, and they have at this point 26 of them. So it's like just the
Oh.
beginning of the conversation.
So black belt isn't the highest rank.
No, that's just like your driver's license, your pilot
Oh.
license.
It's
Like,
like you're
so
16.
you're allowed to teach at that
You're allowed
point.
to stab. Oh, you're allowed to teach.
Yeah, so at that point you're sort of like repping the cult or whatever. Like you can go and evangelize. Until then, you're sort of in training. And it was a thing I did for a long time. It was fun because it teaches you basic stuff like so it's ninjutsu, so it's a lot of rolling. So the first 20 minutes, you're just like on the mat, just doing head rolls and all kinds of like fall backwards and fall forward and all this sort of thing, which for half of the people in the class was basically the reason to do it. They're
It's
like,
like Gymboree for grown.
it's
It's like,
jamboree for grown men. It's all PJs and head rolls. It was
like
just
you're just
fantastic.
in a soft, safe place,
Yep, everything is
allowed
just mats.
to like
Yep.
play on the floor. But
No,
you
it
have
was
to
wonderful.
believe it's preparation for stabbing for it to be okay.
It's yeah. It's we had like wooden swords and like a bunch of like sticks and like wooden knives, all the stuff. It's fun. I mean, it has a strong cosplay element because it's
Oh yeah.
basically a martial art from an era that's totally irrelevant at this point because the technology. But it's in many ways it's just a, I don't know. It was a
Is
fun thing
is
to do.
is ninjutsu supposed to be what ninjas did?
Yep, that's what they call it.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
actual. So my kids love this. My dad is a ninja, so I got that going for me. It's like,
That's
no way.
right.
It's like, yes way. Here's the belt. They're like, get out. It's like, no, it's all true. It's if you must ask, then I will talk about this. Now, the thing about ninjutsu is like basically it's just like it started with like farm tools, and it was because the samurai were basically like the ruling police
Oh yeah,
class,
they
right?
were the landed gentry of
They were in
yeah.
charge. Nobody was really allowed to have weapons, so they had this whole rebellion, this underbelly in society. Like, no, that's nonsense. So they had like all these farm tools that they figured out how to make lethal, and so a lot of the fighting was done at a complete disadvantage to the samurai, which is very ceremonial and sort of like you get called out and all this stuff. And so ninjutsu got a lot of bad press because they would fight unfairly or without honor,
Without honor, yeah.
but they were just sort of life hacking samurais. They're like, nope, see, my sword is shorter than yours, so I get there faster, see, because you're slow with your big sword. It's just like stuff like that. Or they would throw things at you, distract you, and then stab you. So it always sort of at some point comes down to, and then I stab you. But the range of activity around it is much broader with ninjutsu than
All
conventional
right.
samurai sword fighting. So I will be starting a podcast on this separately. Finally living my midlife man dream
That's
on
right.
Earth right here, right now. This is the
So it
beginning of
wasn't
it.
about like punching a person or like a block of wood I watched
No, no, there's
Karate Kid
punching.
for the first time in my life like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
I
well,
don't
how did
remember ever
did you,
having seen it before.
did you feel like
I
you were
can't really
more?
focus on a film that doesn't have a strong female lead. I have to admit.
I
No.
mean,
I was
that's a lot of
riveted.
information.
I,
You
I,
were
I
riveted.
was I
Is that
was
the
I
this
was
the OG
it was
Karate
the
Kid,
OG. It was the
not the
first
Will
one.
Smith one, right?
Classic wax on, wax off, you
Uh-huh.
know? I didn't know. I was so surprised by what happened. Also, the fact that just like a teenager was literally just like assaulting another teenager. And I just forgot that this was like the central plot point of every high school
Yep.
drama from the 1980s.
Just
Was like
open assault.
someone is doing criminal activity to someone else, right? Like I was like, does this really happen in high school anymore? Like that
You
someone
know,
just follows you around and like shoves you off a cliff? Like this seems a little extreme to me. I don't know.
some would say that society has become too safe, Lane.
I don't
That's
know.
how
I'm
you
getting
grow
some
hair in your
dubious
chest.
looks from our producer.
What
Maybe,
is this? No,
maybe.
it's all true. I mean, it's just storytelling. But so Karate Kid is fun, but it's not like that. Like I didn't practice my crane style kick on the top of a boat on the front. That's nonsense. It's fun. It's all routine, repetition, and drills in the end. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's what I had some buddies. They did jujitsu, that sort of Brazilian stuff where
A lot
grown
of
men in pajama.
grappling
Yeah,
in
it's more like
jujitsu.
hugging and
Yeah,
grappling.
yeah.
So different from what they do is like you get to poke somebody's eye out. Very effective if you know like all the squishy parts on people's bodies. Like it's very easy to get out of a jujitsu lock because they're not used to that. They don't want to be pinched. It's not allowed. So it's very dirty fighting, and it's incredibly empowering.
Wow, we really got somewhere I wasn't expecting. Is
No,
that's what I have to
this
say.
this I've always wondered if there was ever going to be a moment where I was going to protect my students. There's going to be some invader, and I was going to just like roll over across the classroom and just like
That's right.
shit
You're gonna take out an ice agent in your
shit kick
classroom.
some kind of unofficial variety of violence. And it's like I was
Just
going to save the children, but it hasn't happened in a
that's right.
decade.
You better keep practicing your mat rolling, just in case ice doesn't expect you to go for the knees.
They don't. They're very front
That's
loaded.
what I
They're
think
very
about. I'm
top
like,
heavy.
what happens if federal agents come into the classroom? What, like, that's the scenario I'm always like running.
They probably seem really out of place in any. I mean, it's like any kind of thing. Like when they have like fire drills, you always see some union guy come in, like, "Hello, it's a fire drill. Everybody to the front." And it's like the most awkward exchange. So imagine it's the same. You know, it's a. They know they're not supposed to be there. Everybody's like, "Who is this guy?" So it's always awkward. ICE agents, I don't know. I haven't seen them. I don't think that. Do you think that they would fight with security at NYU, or they would just let them in?
Oh, security would roll over, especially if they have a warrant. Like like I mean, like the way that this has technically been explained is that they're supposed to get like a higher up of it. Like in that scenario, my
Mm.
understanding is that a front desk security person is supposed to get a higher up security person, because probably the number one person who wants to talk to is an ICE agent is an NYU lawyer first. But also ICE breaks the law all the time. So, and like depending on which kind of security campus security officer you're talking about, they might just let them waltz right in. So
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's putting up a fight at the front security desk of NYU,
the
frankly.
battle for Stern, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, I don't.
52
Well, you
security
do have like
people.
30 new checkpoints to get into Stern now,
Oh,
kind of.
really? Oh, can't
Well,
wait.
there's like the whole front, like you have to get
Like
it
the little ice
across a
cream booth.
checkpoint. Yeah, the ice cream booth you now have to cross to get into that plaza. And that feels like a combo of keeping protesters out plus weird Baron Trump security protocols. You
Oh,
know.
wait, he goes to Stern?
You didn't know. Oh my god, you do not hang out on the NYU Reddit, do you?
I do not hang out.
He is a Stern student, Yost. He
Oh,
could wind up in your class.
well,
Be very careful what you say next.
I look forward to the opportunity that this affords me.
There's a non-zero chance he could wind up in my class.
I mean, look, I'm sure that it's all going to be amazing.
So
I'm
yeah,
always.
there's social security, well, social secret service. That's the term. They like lurk around campus. They've been
That is
confused.
such a
They've been
good.
confused for ICE agents before. Like there's been small scale like dramas that have happened where people have thought, because they're in unmarked vehicles and they wear earpieces and sometimes they're plainclothes, sometimes they're not. So
You can always tell.
it does create confusion. I can always tell, since the black belt ninja.
I am a ninja. I can
Uh,
spot those fuckers. It's the shoes. You can always tell by the shoes.
any, anyway, do we want to take a stab at the syllabi?
Let's take a stab. Let's take a handful of sparkly dust and wow people with the syllabus. I mean, so I will walk you through mine first.
I don't know what you're on. So the reason we're doing this, Unboxing Fam, is that we met to talk about the news, and I was like, Yost, what's the news? Or like, I didn't really say, it did like nothing ban or there's certainly things we could talk about, but it was like, oh, big news, more Xbox layoffs. And I was like, I have nothing more. I've said all that I have to say for a while about layoffs, especially at Microsoft. There's no new angle or take on that information. And I was like, why don't we give the deep professor cuts? Because there's definitely some audience members who enjoy that. We both will start teaching our video games class again in the fall, which is not that far away. It's like 6 weeks from now. Ugh, kill me. And I haven't taught my version of this class in 2 years. So
Really?
I've definitely got some big toilet flushing to do on this syllabus. And so I thought this would be a fun time where we kind of walk the listeners, because our students are so much a part of this podcast, especially once the school year starts. It's just a little preview of what's to come. So maybe if you could give us how do you think about your syllabus? I mean, I think an important thing to know is like you teach in the business school,
Mm-hmm.
and the class is called The Business of Video Games. And what's the overview? How do you break down the week to week? And what do you like? What do you think it'd change? And what do you need help with? What do you need my keen insights on?
Okay.
Just
Well, let me give you the Genesis myth here. So I inherited this class in a world of some time ago, and it was at the time it was more like a culture studies syllabus. It was a lot about representation and stuff like that because it came from MCC.
representation, representation,
Yeah, like why aren't
representation.
I
Sorry,
said representation?
I'm just giving you shit. You taught this class. No. I feel like something's getting you. The first you first. I'm going to tell you your history. You
Okay,
first adjunct this class
Laine, explain it to me.
in Lanesplaining. It's a
Oh,
thing.
it's a thing now.
You first adjuncted it in my department, right? In
Correct.
the media, culture, and communication, which is why it looked like a cultural studies syllabus,
Yes.
right? Because it was in a cultural studies department, right? When did it become a class on the books in the business school?
Not for a while. So from
And
your
I want to be
department.
clear: these two classes aren't connected at any. Like they
No,
weren't. Yeah.
it
So you.
kept shifting departments. So at Stern, I'm at my fourth home. It started at MCC, then it went to Tish.
Well, the class doesn't go to a different place. It's that a
No,
new class gets invented with similar content in a different school. Just to be clear about how this works administratively.
yes. So I do the class at MCC first. It's a summer class. It's 7 students. I mean, they're like children. Like two of them are 17. They're like just having a fun time, and we're just talking about games. And then I do that for 2-3 semesters. Then realize through someone who reaches out saying like, oh, at Tisch we're setting up at the film department at Tisch. We also have this developing games thing. Actually, Jesper Juhl was there for like a year or maybe two as like a visiting professor or visiting scholar. So they were beefing up their infrastructure. That they had a library of games and they had trolleys with Xboxes and Guitar Hero guitars. So I went up to them saying like, hey, what about I teach it here? We cross-listed and then we can kind of bring some visibility to the program and I get to like play games in classes, whatever. Plus it was also a very cool building.
You got to
You-
speed this up.
okay. From
We're
there
going to
to
be here all day.
and then in 1982,
If I have to hear about the nature of every
two
building you taught
years
in,
before Super Mario launched in North America,
I love you. I just want you to feel
I'm
assured
just
about
slow rolling through this. After Tisch, it became the NYU Game Center, which is even nicer and bigger in Brooklyn. And that resulted in a bunch of stragglers from the business school who said, so I had all these people standing against the wall auditing my class while I had a group of people that actually had it for credit until one of them went to Stern and said, we should have this. Why don't we have this? They reached out. They
that.
got me to
Oh,
some
interesting.
lunch
Okay.
at the Torch Club. I got like a salad.
They took you to a fucking lunch at the Torch Club
Oh, yeah. Stern rolls like that. You get a
to get
$40
you to
sub.
adjunct a class.
You
Good
know?
God.
That's listen, you're either good at stuff or you're not good at stuff. Anyway, so I negotiated that they would give me the bigger rooms because that's what it was all about, but then I could cross list it. So it's cross listed at all those departments, which is administratively fun. But so that's how it started. So it's been a lot of fun to kind of talk to these different groups. The ideal thing, the ambition is to get people that study the art and the culture and the sort of creativity of it meld brains with the people that do business, marketing, etc., strategy, money parts. So that's the nature of the class. And so as a result, I just sort of hand everybody topics and conversation pieces for them to discuss. So that's how I see the syllabus. I teach it like someone who runs a startup, though. So I don't really hold hands. I don't take attendance and whatever, like those things. Because if you're paying this much money for an elective course at Stern, then by all means, don't make my life worse by adding more to my schedule. Like, do you like spend your money and whatever? Like, it's your dime. So I take a sort of straightforward approach with that. But I take the syllabus very serious. That's my contract with the students. So, and it consists really topically out of three pieces. We can go over the sort of obvious stuff, but it starts with games as a product, is sort of the basics. It moves into games as a service, and then the third part is like games as a lens to which we can see technology and like emerging forms of play. And it's always sort of brought back to the world is changing. How does company A, B, C adapt to that or not? And what are the consequences? So I have lots of protagonists, lots of case studies. I've spent 20 minutes going over like current events. And the syllabus is sort of the rails that keeps that organized. Did you look at my syllabus, Laine?
I mean, I
This is a
opened
question,
the PDF and
sort of a
I'm
classic
looking
question.
at it.
Have you
Actually, I did
it?
look at your assignments. I mean, it's a very like you begin from the premise that the game and the company are like we're going to talk about these things together, right? That to talk that in this class, right? We talk about when we're talking about games, we're talking about companies,
Mhm.
corporations,
Yes.
decisions. I mean, innovation is in the first sentence of your course description. I don't think the word innovation appears in a single lecture I have ever given.
Why don't you like change? Why are you so?
Because change is different from the ideology of innovation, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
that's
I see how this is going to go. Now it's
my syllabus has a very different SEO, you know.
that's why this is like we could probably like slide them into each other. It'll be like one master syllabus
I
of
mean,
like
you know the
no
joke of
overlap.
what I use to demonstrate your syllabus for, right? Have I told you about this?
No,
No, I
here it
have told
comes.
you about this. Like I use your syllabus on the games in Labor Day, where I'm like, this the syllabus in the business school does not have a day on labor.
Uh,
And I'm like, that's the difference in departmental ideology, kids. Like,
the workers just need to be quiet.
and
That's
I really need you to not add a day on labor because it would really fuck up that power move, you know?
it's. I bet you I can come up with a counter argument there. It's like, see, this is why nothing gets done over there. It's been too much.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's too many
Yeah.
meetings. No, I like that very
I
much,
mean, it
and that's
looks
absolutely.
incredibly productive. This is why I've long referred to our classes sister classes, because I think for students who want to go into the game industry, this class
Mhm.
models the kind of thinking that they're going to have to be doing, right? In the way that it conceives of its topic and in its assignment structure.
Yes.
I think it's strong in that sense. And then a whole different wacky world of bullshit is happening in my course.
Well, I do want to point out before we move to yours is that I do have labor as a topic appearing several times, but it's not a day. So your thesis holds, but I do discourage people from becoming QA interns at studios. I spend actually quite a bit of time on like how they hire and retain talent and like who gets paid more and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of data on that,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
not. I don't make them read any Jason Schreier stuff or anything like that.
yeah. So, and I mean, that three-part structure, right? So, games as product, games as service, games as platform is what, and their games as product is the smallest section, and then they get consecutively kind of larger.
Yes, it's like an accordion folds out. The product
So,
stuff is like it's really like backwards looking. So they did like it started. This class started and people had a recollection of this, but these students that I have now, 10, 12 years later, is like they know of Super Mario 1984, but that's not how they came up. They came up with Club Penguin. Like it was a very different
yeah,
generation. Right. As you keep nodding, like, oh, there you go. Let's
now
talk about let's talk about yours. Let's talk about your
let's talk about
because
mine. I love
I
it.
of course
You're
noticed
looking
the
at a weird version of this. This was the syllabus I taught when I did J term in Abu Dhabi.
J
So
term. What is J term?
January term, so it's like the class is like not even 3 weeks long. you meet like 11 times. All the content is still there, but this was just the most recent version of the syllabus, so I sent it to you. But there's a lot of shit on here that was like required by the government of the United Arab Emirates that is like not shit I would have on a normal syllabus, like so like a learning outcomes with an appendix. I don't know. There was a lot of stuff I was told I had to have that is not normally there. And then the reading schedule is correct. And so my class, so a long time ago, there was a class in my department, and this was the class U First Adjunct, which was called Video Games, Culture and Industry.
That's it. That's the one.
And I became the adjunct for that class when I was in my last year of grad school. It was very funny. Getting to be an adjunct here was like hitting a gold mine if you were a PhD student in
Oh,
the
yes.
region, because NYU paid the best and everybody knew that, but you had to like work really hard to get into that pipeline as an adjunct. And I took over that class, and it was kind of intended to be like a game studies 101. And while I was an adjunct, I taught it that way. And then when I came back to this department as a faculty member in 2017, I was like, I don't ever want to teach game studies ever again. Like, I don't want to ever have a syllabus that like Eam Bogost and Jesper Juhl is on. Like, I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. This is not, I don't
Why
want
don't
to
you? Why don't you like Jesper? What's wrong? He's
I know. I just don't. I don't want to teach half real, right? Like, nothing wrong with it. If it makes you happy, great. I don't want to. It's not for me. It's not shit I want to teach. And so, like, I don't care about teaching game studies. I don't.
Oh yeah,
I
that
just said
whole
that so explicitly, where I was just like, I don't
no.
want to teach Hoinzinga or Kawa or fucking Balinese cockfight. I mean,
Oh my god! I mean, it's like every time you talk about games, you have to like dredge up like the 7 people that wrote about
yeah,
it in
yeah,
the last
yeah. It's like we need to
century.
talk about consent and the game form. I don't consider it my discipline. And so I just didn't want to discuss it anymore. And so I redesigned the class to be a kind of political economy class. And so I call this a critical political economy of the game industry. So there's a core question, which is like, how do games make money? And the way we look at and answer that question in a way that moves us through the history of the game industry into the present, kind of chronologically. And a lot of students kind of mix up, they think that the question means that they will learn how to make games make money, when actually what you learn is that capitalism is bad. That's what you learn. Like, when you look at how games make money, you're like, oh, these are like, this whole system is driven by exploitative power dynamics that get worse as time goes on, right? Where creators at the lowest level are getting more and more encroached upon, consumers are getting more and more siphoned upon, and if in the 80s and 90s that privileged the publisher, now it privileges the platform holder. And so the course really operates in like 2 sections. What you kind of cover as games as product, I spend half a semester on, kind of. So I have a day, first day, I mean, is like the non-commercial origins of games. So games as they come out of the military industrial complex. So I go back to the 1960s. We start there. How do
Oh my
games
god!
go from there into a commercial setting? So then we go to the arcade. So we talk about public play, because the lineage there is really explicit, from things like Pong or Space War, right? You can literally trace this. Then you have the console industry rising at the same time. Then I have a class on what I portion out. I have a class dedicated after I do brick and mortar economics. I have a class especially for the history of the rise of the game industries in China and Japan. So I try to have a day to kind of like counterbalance and fill in. These are the other 2 largest gaming markets in the world. What are their origin points, and how do the different kind of national histories each of these countries have deeply influence the way that games develop and circulate as commodities in these places? Then I have a class on video games and the labor market, where we talk about unionization and what that is. And then there's a midterm, and then after that, it's like, boom, the internet. What did it do to the game industry, right? What does digital distribution do to the game industry? So we start with Steam, and we kind of look at how Steam becomes a platform monopolist. We look at its revenue splits. We look at kind of what Steam has done to like game discoverability. And then from there, it's kind of jumping across different platforms. So we do Twitch. No, we do mobile. We do live streaming. We do esports. And then I end on a day I call Hype Day, which is where I do whatever has been is like the hypiest topics in the game industry that semester. So
Really? You
that,
wait till the end for that?
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
It kind of, I mean, because that's where it comes like most fully to the present, right? And so that day is like, it's been in the past, it's been, I think there was a day on cloud gaming. It used to be like the metaverse and crypto. Now, more lately, it's been like the metaverse and Roblox. I might dump like things to talk about, or I might dump the metaverse. Maybe it needs to be about like and by Roblox, this new model of kind of like platformatization of the game industry, and maybe it needs to be about AI or something like that. But yeah, it's sort of a day about kind of demystifying the hype cycle and showing how actually what's going on in these hype cycles really mirrors as an economic construction everything we've looked at in the particularly in the whole kind of games as like the whole kind of digital distribution back half of the class, which is that's where it becomes really clear is that like all this shit is a really bad deal for the people who actually make games. And that's where I see the students really flip, where they're like, oh, like who captures the wealth from all of this? It's not the people that I care about, right? And then it all kind of falls into place for them.
That's a solid argument. I do want to point out that the word innovate does actually
Oh, does it?
occur on your syllabus on page 12. So
What
as I
happens?
listen to you, it's at the same time.
Oh, that was something I had to wait. Is that
But
in
in fairness,
appendix
that is one of
2?
the appendices that you were probably
Yes,
forced
that
to,
that was I was had to add that to make the crown prince happy. So,
and I'm sure
you
he was
know.
delighted by
So
your
yeah, that
conforming.
that will not be in this fall syllabus.
That is immediately removed.
Appendix 2 will not be present. It was like a yeah, where you have to like be like upon completion of this class, a student will be able to show these PLO program learning outcome, just like bureaucratizing like academic learning practices to
Ah,
literal death.
you see mine. Like it's just like the end of it is just legalese. It's like three
Yeah,
pages of academic integrity and behavior and
it's
wellness. You're like,
important to have. You got to have that student disability services boilerplate on there. Student Wellness Center inclusion statement. You put your laptop, cell phones, and electronic devices policy on like the last page. That's so funny.
because at some point I get tired. It's just like past the schedule. It's like, who cares? Like, it's all the fine print. Nobody reads that. But whatever. It's on there. So it's not really organized in a strong or
Yeah.
considered way.
Religious observances, name pronunciation, and I don't have a pronouns paragraph on my fucking syllabus. All right. All
Listen,
right, go
listen, Laine.
off.
Listen, Laine. You don't even know what's going on at the business school. You thinking we're just anti-labor, when in fact we are very accessible to all kinds of folk. Now it ends up being an interesting sort of sample of what I think is going on in your class. I first of all love all the fonts and the emojis. Very readable. It's a what's the design choice? It was just like you could just do it, or was that like you pick a new one every semester, or is it like a thing that you do? Like
What
I've
do you
never
what
seen like
you
just
mean?
like the video game economies. It's like this sort of curly font that you have.
Oh
What's
yeah,
what's
that's
what's
just a
up with?
font, man.
Okay, and then you got little emojis
Yeah.
in every title. So it suggests also the use of AI in compiling this. Is that what's your stance on AI?
No, I handpicked each of those emojis to reflect the unique concerns of that
Farm to
particular
table
week.
emojis.
Yeah. Yeah, I picked my own emojis, man.
Okay, no,
I mean, once
respect,
you,
respect.
so, this is a dominantly lecture class. And so once I get those lectures down, because we can also talk about structure. So I tend to teach this class once a week for 2.5 hours. So I would rather just, and so the class opens with usually like two student presentations. Those take up about the first half an hour. And then it's 2 hours of lecture with a little break kind of in the middle. And I mean, it's wild. Like they will mostly stay focused. And I have a no laptop policy in this upper level class. Like I hate there's nothing I hate worse than like seeing in a class of 50 and they're all just like staring at their laptops. I'm like, no girl, this is not I'm not going to lecture in this environment for this many hours. So, it's like handwriting or get the fuck out.
I share with you the no laptop rule. I tend to slide.
To the semester there's a few in there using it and it's whatever, but
My class isn't even
I
that
don't
long.
get too fussy about it, but
It's understandable, but it's like I do expect them to like just 1 hour of your time be here with us, because the rest of the time, like, I don't care what you do outside this class, but like it's also just, I mean, it's not a sign of respect, so I don't feel disrespected. It's just like I don't take attendance. It's like you're missing out, man. Like you're getting low fidelity education, like really stupid. But to kind
yeah.
of set the tone, like I just tell
I
people
also
not
do
to.
not take attendance, and that is a controversial position in my department.
Why?
Because I think there is in a humanities department, there's a strong belief that attendance should be an inherent part of class performance or participation.
Okay,
And
and then why don't you?
I don't one, I don't want to track attendance. Two, I do not think that quantifying attendance should count toward a student's grade. That just doesn't make sense to me. And then it creates all of this extra bureaucracy where you're like, is it an excused absence or is it not? Did you do you? It's just like you can miss two, but what happens after? And it's just like, you know what? I don't want to fucking deal with it. You come to class or you don't. You
Yes,
pass the test or you don't. Like
there
like
is no try.
I have for 10 years had I magical things happened in my teaching when I stopped taking it personally whether or not they cared. And I
Yes,
just
yes, that
started
part.
being like, listen, you do you. If you can get through this class and these tests and these assignments without ever being here, then you have successfully completed the content of this course. And like you being here does not and mean that or it's like it's sort of like I disengaged my ego from their participation and I just realized there's so much less cop shit I have to do. And because a lot of this stuff to me often feels like I need to make them respect me. And it's like, respect me or not. I'm going to be up here talking and you could show up or not. And in 10 years, I've had one student who was able to almost never come to class and pass every test and get an okay grade on every paper. And I'm like, all right, then you know the stuff, whether you ever came to class or not. You
Yeah,
know,
I share that with
usually
you.
they fail on their own right. If they don't
Yes,
come, usually they'll fail and it takes care of themselves. And I don't need to be collecting your fucking doctor's notes. I don't care.
say less. I'm with you in the whole thing. It's because it's just a matter of like have a little bit of like independence. Like I know
Yeah,
we're still in the dojo to stay with the theme, but like at one point you're gonna have to find your ass to work somehow, and so I don't like. What if no one cares if you show up or not? If you just like are valued by the thing that you do, I think that is actually a very valuable lesson, especially when you enter the workforce, because nobody's waiting for you. Nobody cares. So if you
yeah,
can't pull the cart, then guess what? You're just staying where you are. So, which is not some tough love. It's just sort of impractical to think that people are going to check on you all the time. And so I'm not doing that in my classroom either. Plus the administrative work that goes into taking all these exit tickets, or like, where's the sheet? Did everybody sign the sheet? Did you sign the sheet? Jimmy didn't sign the sheet. Oh, can I sign for Jessica? She wasn't here last week. Like, I have no bandwidth for that. My intellectual
yeah.
capacity just craps out. So I'm not doing that. I think it's a system of oppression, Laine. It's just, but let me ask you one question though. It's like, because so to emphasize all this, like my grading is three parts. It's 25% attendance. It's 25% midterm
But
and
you just
50.
said you don't take attendance.
I don't.
So how can a grade be 25% attendance?
I see. Like it gives me a lot of flexibility and power. You see, I don't remember seeing you in class at all, Joey. Is that's your real name?
But you don't take a test. Like, you can't prove beyond anything besides your own memory that the student was or wasn't there.
And the recording from every class that Stern affords me. So that, I mean, if so, like for me, attendance is really sort of if anything goes south, then I have a record. It's like, well, I didn't see you in the class 3 times. Who even is this? Or we could clearly hear you yelling out, or whatever there's some circumstance, right? So it's more in case things go sideways, as opposed to this point when students don't communicate with me. I will find out because they're missing from, like, most students will have questions. And so that's how I interact with them. My office hours follow my class, and 89% of them after class come ask questions. So then I know them, they introduce themselves, like it's much more one on one. And then the 10% that doesn't, I register those too. So like, oh, that girl's never spoken to me. That guy over there, he always wears the shirts, he never talks to me. Why does he never talk to me?
Who
So it
cares? Well, they
no,
don't get
it's
booked.
it. Yeah, I am responsible for the kids in that sense, but I don't take the tickets because I think that's sort of, I say, immature. But I do grade them for that, so that gives me so everybody gets full prizes for the attendance, unless I notice that you've been just really
So
making a big
you
mess.
really grade inflate them.
No, not really. It's the grade inflation
A
starts at the
quarter
end.
of their grade is whether or not you remember them being in class.
No, a quarter of their grade is did you, like, students run into trouble for 2 reasons. They're either indifferent or in trouble. And so if they're indifferent, then I don't have a midterm probably either, and probably a crappy final paper. So like it snowballs into this catastrophe. If they're in trouble, that's a very different thing. Then I get the note, hey, my parents died, I'm sick, my dog is sick, my car, whatever you get. But they start communicating. I insist that they communicate with me. I say it's fine if you miss out, but let me know so I don't have to go chase you and where you are. And they all honor that in a big way.
Okay,
So
so
in many ways, so that's
attendance
how
and
I.
participation, 25%.
Yep.
Midterm project, 25%. Final project, half the grade. I
That's
have
all
found
the
in my
marbles.
teaching that having 3 points of assessment is too few, and that they like more, and they don't want to wait till halfway through the semester even to know how they're, or 2/3 of the way through to know how they're doing. And so I give them more points of assessment. And what the fuck do I do? I just lost my. So I don't believe in grading anything I can't quantify. I can't quantify participation. I don't believe I can accurately quantify participation unless I write down every single time you talked. I just don't believe in it. And so for me, like, attendance is not a quantifiable activity. I don't care if you're there or not, and I don't quantify participation. The thing I do that I use as a proxy is called an exit ticket. So they just have to write down on an index card a question, and I can use those to generate questions at the beginning of the next class, or to figure out if something was like too confusing, or there's something that I need more clarity on. They need me to go back and revisit. I've used them effectively that way too, so I get a little feedback. That's like, it's 10% of their grade,
It's
right?
interesting that the Department of Media, Culture, and Communication is so like quantified.
No, this is my position.
No,
It's
I
like
understand.
I don't believe in these like hedgy loose categories where we give students lots of percentage points for stuff that like is really just about like your personal vibe. I find that fishy. So
No, I appreciate that.
I don't do that.
I appreciate that. The difference, of course, contextually is also that, like, I am effectively as an adjunct, just a temp worker. My contract gets renewed every semester, and I'm very grateful for this. You are tenured, and you've been on the tenure track for a minute, so it's like I assume that you hold yourself to a very different standard. For me, this is a thing I do on the side to kind of sort of wash myself off of all the corporate talk that I get the rest of the week, right? All the finance and tech talk that I suffer through on a paid basis. Frankly, I would teach the class for free if that's all it was. It's a union job, so they must pay me. But it's purely just to have a group of people in the room. Let's talk about these things. And so I don't hold that to the same standard that I imagine you would. I could probably do a better job, but it just seems like more work. If I'm really,
Your
pay
students
doesn't.
seem happy.
Students are happy. I'm happy.
What do they do? So this syllabus is also a little fun. So they do a class presentation.
Yeah, I like that
Um,
though. What are you playing?
what are you playing?
So,
So they
what
have
can
to. There's this whole kind of convoluted process at the beginning of the semester because it's a class of 50, where they fill out a spreadsheet and they tell me 3 games that they would be willing to present on, and they can choose whether they would like to present in class or whether they'd like to make a video presentation because there's too many students for them all to present in person. And then I go through all the students who want to present in person. They also get a small percentage bonus for presenting in person to honor and respect the challenge of getting in front of the room or whatever. And then I get to kind of curate what I think will make for interesting presentations. And it's usually a mix of like classics, stuff everybody likes, hyper popular. There's always like a GTA 5, there's always an NBA 2K, there's always a somebody fucking wanting to present on Dota 2.
say it with love, right?
With I mean, nothing is worse than watching a 20-year-old give a presentation on like League of Legends. Like it is
Why?
one of because they cannot do it in 10 to 12 minutes. Like as a rule, it's like impossible.
This
Uh,
sounds like fun. I
and
should
then
ask.
and then I pick stuff that's like a little weirder, right? So stuff I haven't heard about, stuff that's more indie, stuff that's more niche. And then everyone else can do a video presentation. I grade the stuff that happens in class. My CA grades the video presentations. And the goal of the presentation is for them, it's not just show and tell, it's they have to make an argument about the game's inner logic and how it is designed in a way that produces a revenue, like what the kind of relationship between maybe design and monetization. So it's an assignment that plays really well if you're doing a kind of crunchy mobile game, but students have made really compelling and interesting arguments with all sorts of games, even like single player open world stuff
Hmm.
to weird
Fascinating.
little niche indie failures. They get pretty creative in order to talk about their favorite things. So
Yeah, I mean, that's where you realize like they're really about it,
yeah,
which is that's sort of like a running theme where I have a lot of these students that study finance and accounting, but are really passionate about League of Legends. And they've been trying to figure out how to make the argument to their parents that they really want to not do finance and that League of Legends is a lot actually like finance in terms of keeping track of a bunch of numbers.
yeah. I would say that like some of my best students are obviously like the best performing students in our major, but sometimes I will get a Stern student who can like really wants to run a fucking statistical analysis on something, and it's pretty magical when they turn that loose. So yeah, and then I'm old school, man. I do a test and I do a midterm and a final. Like you come in with a pen and you try to write your way out of a hole. Multiple choice, short answer, long answer. I
Oh,
also
really?
find that
Like old timey multiple choice?
old timey multiple choice. Yeah,
Ye older choice?
yeah. I
That's
try to create. It's also about creating modes of assessment that are easy and efficient to grade, right? Because when you're teaching at 50, it's like I need to create stuff that my course assistant can grade quickly. So that's also part of my thinking. And then I have a paper that is in a full semester. It's broken into 2 parts, and so they get an early grade on it that happens maybe like 35% of the way into the semester, and then they can use that feedback toward revision for the final submission. So they get some early grade content in there, so they get a little bit of a sense of how they're doing.
that's like students do like that, like and
Yeah,
especially at like a place like Stern, like people are really about the grade, so they want to just know like how do I clear the hurdle, and then like I mean I don't know if you have students hand you papers early. That happens all the time.
I get students. I'll usually have a handful who really either they're hyper grade conscious or sometimes they just really can't. They think the writing assignment's really cool and they really want to do a good job. Because I keep this, I think I've talked about it on here before, the game industry encyclopedia. So I'm keeping like a ongoing what I'm calling an encyclopedia of the game industry. So it's currently held on the Internet Archive, and it's just like alphabetically organized entries about companies, they can't write on specific products, but they can write on like corporations, monetization strategies, game mechanics, anything related to the specific dynamics of a regional game industry, cons, conventions, esports. They all have to write a 1,200 word essay. I do have to do some thinking about how to AI proof this a little, some of that stuff. But I'm thinking for next semester, none of the assignments will change. I think I'm pretty happy with all of those, but definitely there's some revision I'm planning on. I think my Labor Day, I think my readings are old and I need to revise those. I think I want to focus maybe a little more on outsourcing.
How do you get them to read all this stuff?
I don't know if they read it.
So we're doing attendance, but we don't care about the actual.
I'm not doing attendance either. I they come in, it is so the way I think of it is such. I give a lecture. So the reading is like the foundation. I give a lecture that then indicates to you what I think is most important about the reading. If you haven't done the reading, that lecture is probably a lot more mystifying and harder to understand. But you could come to class and get a lot of what you need from the lecture. You will have a harder time answering the questions on the test about the reading, about what I want you to know from the readings if you've never done the readings. Right? But like you could get away with not I so it's not a discussion based class. It's the best students will do them and then everyone kind of filters down from there.
Gotcha.
And it's
That's
so where the modes of assessment are really tailored to reflect the effortfulness of the student.
I like that very much. The I couldn't. I mean, the reason I asked is because I used to have this sort of amalgamation of different texts, and first of all, I couldn't get it to the students. I at one point I had two separate readers that they had to go buy, and it was like $200 combined for it, just like encumbering the students with all these articles and all these
Joost, you
things.
just give them a folder of PDFs.
Yeah, I know, but I've been teaching for a very long time. I've been teaching for a very long time. Like back then, we had goose feathers, and no, it was like but I couldn't. My understanding was like you just make it available to them in some capacity, and then they read it, and they just resisted that hand and foot. So I was like, all right, so which is part of the reason I wrote a book. I was like, okay, fine. Here's the one thing. It's like I wanted it to be a cheap book. It was like $30 instead of $10. But so like the idea was like I had this problem with like getting the material to my students for them to consume it in a reasonable way, and I still don't feel like most of them read at all. Like they
I have
don't.
little idea who does or doesn't read. It's clear to me that the ones who really know the stuff are definitely reading, and there's students who definitely show up and they're like, oh my god, I really like that reading. I'm always kind of surprised when they read. I think one of my strategies that, and this is also part of like trying to make it not about me, is like I teach a class where like you could, if you are smart enough, you could get away with not doing the reading. And if you want to do the reading, you will. And ultimately, it's all about your performance on the tests, and it's about how hard you want to work on that paper and how willing you are to be challenged and to challenge yourself to do good work. And definitely doing the reading will help you do that. But I'm not gonna, I have a lot of content to drop on y'all, and making sure you did the reading is like not a priority for me.
No, I
I don't
totally.
run a very discussion based class at all. So, and I kind of prefer that discussion. I feel like moderating discussion feels like a weak point for me.
Really, why?
I just don't, I'm not good on my feet. I find it very stressful.
Okay.
Like, it's just like, it's not, I would rather manicure a lecture and like stand and deliver than sit there and like facilitate ideas in real time. I find that just like totally intellectually overwhelming.
You and I are so different. Like that's my thing. Crowd work all day long. Let's go. You last week you said something about League of Legends. How do you think about this now? What's up with that? Have you said the news? Like, what did I just say about Sony? What did you make of that? And just like call them out of their like sleep and slumber. It's my favorite thing to do. And eventually they catch on and they know it's like better to like know something to say, or they'll like preemptively raise their hand. That's when we're learning, I think. Like sort of as opposed to like I get you wouldn't know it if I didn't tell you, but like I get really tired of hearing myself talk after like 20 minutes. And so like I just can't hold a conversation if it's just me talking the whole time. So I need input from the crowd. This is the hard thing I have when I go on the road and do like hour-long talks in front of like people that don't talk back. You're just like standing there like a jackass by yourself for an hour. It's like it's just like this totally artificial thing. It's like we're not actually communicating with each other. So my students, I kind of insist. I just, but and then the challenge is to not have only those five vocal people in the front row take up all the air, all the airwaves and the bandwidth. And then you have to kind of walk around, point things out, and remember what she said last week. I find that so much more exciting. That's so much
Oh, I'd
gives me so
rather
much more
eat
energy.
glass than deal with that. Like,
You and I are not the same.
I am very like sage on a stage, and I'm really happy in that space. And not everyone needs to flip a fucking classroom, man. Like sometimes, like I just know more than you, and you gotta listen to me. Sorry, like
Sage on the stage. I'm loud in a crowd.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a very defining college experience where I had this European history professor who would just do that, and I found it so like she would just come in like leather jacket, black bun. She would open a fucking physical binder and she would just talk at you for an hour and 15. And I was like, this is the best experience on earth. And
You
like
like that?
I just try to like replicate that.
I like that. I like that.
We've been jamming for a bit. I think we should real quick like are there like three top things that you would change about your syllabus or that you're looking at revising, editing, switching up like readings, assignments?
That's a good one. Yeah, I do agree with you that you point something out that some of my students have communicated in the past that they want more points of evaluation. And so but I'm sort of hesitant to take that on because it's more
It's more
work in some
grading.
way.
Wait, don't you have a course assistant?
I have a TA.
Oh, so you're
So
not doing the grading.
no, I do the grading. Are you kidding? That's
What does
like
your
that.
TA do?
The TA gets it to a place where I can grade it. So the TA goes over it and has a rubric, but that's sort of the pre-work, right? Then because it's like a doctor would ever sees a patient. That's bullshit. So in which, of course, my students aren't patients, and I'm not a doctor, but like I'm paid to
Oh,
to teach
your
them.
CA is just in there getting the BP and the weight, and then you're the preliminary symptoms. Then
That's
you're
right.
in there with the diagnosis. Is that the
I'm
metaphor
sitting there.
that
I'm
you're
sitting
you're
there with a
trying to
big
cook up for
chart.
me?
It says here you're terminally failing this class. Now the TA does all the pre-grading or whatever that's if that's a word, and then I go over it. It's more so that we have 2 points of evaluation on everybody. Did I get that right? Did you read it too? Let me read it again because a lot. I mean, it's conversational, so a lot of them come back. But I do think that perhaps I like this idea of the exit tickets. I do miss the sort of. It's a very elegant way to solve for both sort of quasi attendance as well as getting feedback from the crowd. I like that. So that's be one thing. I am also a little envious of your student presentations. I don't know if I could pull it off because I have like 50, 60 a semester. So that would be like several of them each week. I don't think I have time to do that.
So I have 50 a semester, and two, as I explained earlier, only two of them present every any given day. The rest do video presentations that are submitted electronically. I never even like, and those are graded by my course assistant.
Ah,
So I grade the ones that happen live and in class, and that helps set the tone within the class for like the kinds of engagement and the kinds of thinking I want to see and the kinds of things that are problems for me in presentations. And hopefully if the students are smart, they're paying attention and they see what is going on week after week and they kind of build that into their own presentations. But yeah, I divide the work that way. So everything that happens live in class, I grade. Everyone else who is doing an online presentation or a video presentation, that is graded by the course assistant. And I do grade calibration with the course assistant so that they like kind of understand how to grade as if they are me.
that's really interesting.
So I just do depending on how you could also do group work. I mean,
Yeah,
that's very like a business school, right?
yeah, and that's why I don't like it. It's like these work groups at corporations. Like, give me a break.
Or you take a paper assignment and you break it into parts. That's the other trick you can do to give them more points of assessment.
That's really good advice, though. I'll think about that. What would you change?
I feel like most of my changes need to be in the wait about your syllabus or about mine.
Mine syllabus is perfect. Now, what would you
Okay,
change about yours?
I think I need some big content revisions. So one of
Hmm.
my I need to kind of redo my games and labor. I've got some very old essays hanging out on there. There's like a Mia Consalvo essay about gender discrimination, and I think it's like God, how fucking old is that thing by now? It's got to be like a 20-year-old fucking essay by now.
Mia's timeless.
I mean, she's great, but it's 2008, and I just think that lecture in particular has been kind of revised and rewritten a lot. There's like a 15-minute video I show in the middle that's about the game industry that is also, it was done, the one done by that comedian, Hassan Minhaj. So he has the Patriot Act. See, that's how old it is. You're like, what are you talking about? Like, it includes jokes about Mike Pence, right? Like, there's a reason that this isn't working anymore, you know?
No, but
Like,
that's a really
it,
good
it
point.
was a banger like 6 years ago. And then every year, it's just like a little more irrelevant. And it's a nice video because it brings together a whole bunch of data about the problems with like labor and discrimination in the game industry. But at this point, it's like years out of date, and the cultural references that are part of the
Yep.
comedy are like, I think there's a Drake joke. Like it's just we're so far beyond the cultural, the kind of like Trump is new kind of era in which it was made. That so I think maybe I want to deal with. I think I want to globalize that lecture a bit. So I might want to deal with outsourcing. I might want to deal with kind of overwork and crunch culture in other places, like in Japan or China. I think a big question I have in a totally different arena is like, I haven't figured out, this kind of the digital distribution part of the syllabus is very organized around these specific platforms, right? We do Steam, then we do the smartphone, then we do Twitch, then we do esports. But this entire kind of cross-play move that's happened where now all games can be played on all platforms all the time is really, it's like the it's like what, like, I don't have a good essay on the way the new economics of AAA game development like work, or the way that like these new online shops and stores and cloud platforms work. I mean, we talked about this in the pre-call. For scholars here, there's a famous Dimitri Williams essay called Structure and Competition in the US Video Game Industry, and it's from like 2002, and it talks about how the brick and mortar economics of that industry work. It's an essay that like I need to know what the 2025 version of that essay is, because there's traditional ways you break up the industry from like console to PC to mobile, but what is it like, to what extent are those distinctions continue to be meaningful, and the way the cloud kind of intervenes in all of this, I don't really have an answer for in terms of organizing my syllabus. I don't know what the good readings are on this stuff. I don't know if they've even been written or how to approach it, because there's no central platform object to talk about. I guess I could talk about something like Game Pass, but I don't know. It would also require a big reworking of the syllabus to add something like that in. So,
Right. So Dimitri Williams, whose work I respect, I know him fairly well, but he's
could
also
you
a
just get him to like write that essay for me?
well. I suggest we email him seriously, but so I don't think that's possible. Is what I'm trying to say, because he's a communication scholar like I am too, and so a lot of the theory from especially that time, like late '90s, early 2000, was all about mass media. When you could talk about that, so he wrote effectively the video games article that would almost point by point be the same thing as you could write about the newspaper industry and the film business and music and radio and TV. All these industries were described in this way. That part of the discipline, if that discipline still has any relevance today, is totally over. Like you can't, like digitalization killed that whole field in a way. Because where do you begin? Like where does like the digitalization in effect is very much the opposite of analog in that it's like things don't have a beginning or an end anymore, whereas they used to be discrete businesses and discrete units. Like if you look at a lot of like policies around, say, media ownership and regulation, and like how they define that in a particular media market, a cable company must not own more than 33% of the radio networks and broadcast stations. It's like, but it's physical buildings, and you could own XYZ%, and that was calculated by the FTC or the FCC. Like it used to be discreet, and now that's totally out the window. So I don't think Dimitri could even do it if he wanted, but we should ask,
Yeah,
because I missed that too.
yeah, that's some nice feedback that I'm not losing it in terms of feeling like this is a thing I don't quite know how to touch, because I have this kind of brick and mortar economics of the console game industry, and we never quite come back around to what is going on in the console industry. And maybe I don't want to lose hype day, but I'm like also in this syllabus, where does that go? Right. And so I'm confronted with either a fundamental structural redesign, which I don't really want to do, because I think the students get so excited about like the day on esports or the day on Twitch. That is one of the deficits maybe of having this syllabus that is organized around these specific platforms. Ugh. I think otherwise, yeah, I would like to give a refresh. So my last question for you is, what should Hype Day be about?
Ooh. And so,
I
what was
keep,
your last one about?
my last one it was like Roblox and platformatization as a kind of economic logic, and the metaverse. Those were the two.
Have you done the creator economy?
I mean, that's what the Roblox one is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the creator economy. Sorry, I forgot it. My mind like blacked out that term. Thankfully.
When's the last time you have said thank you to your local venture capitalist? You know, no, so I wonder. I mean, so Roblox and the metaverse is a good one. I think the metaverse is a little played out.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
students don't quite get the metaverse so much anymore.
It's not. I mean, VR is like no one cares. You know,
I asked them
they don't give a
constantly,
shit.
like, by show of hands, who's getting the Oculus, give or
They don't
take.
care.
It's
I
not as
mean,
prevalent.
the percentage, if you look even at something like the ESA report, the percentage of people who own like a VR kit year to year barely moves. It's like 10%. That's it. You know.
Yep. Yeah, so I would go with like the Roblox thing, and like the being a creator. Like there's a lot of wind now around things like grow a garden, like some Roblox experience that goes
So you
bonkers
think
and gets.
making the whole day about the creator economy? Where's AI in this?
Well, that's a big thing for Roblox. They're trying to
Oh, I
basically
don't mean
hand.
with AI. I mean, do you think AI is the other topic for a hype class day?
That one I find tricky because I think AI is so ill-defined and poorly understood. Like, as a so is it an industry tool where you basically find efficiencies, or as a consumer, does that allow you to make things on the fly and like have it? So it's not as clear what the use case is for like
For the
students.
at the consumer end, yeah.
You
Ugh, I
know,
really don't want to have a whole class about Roblox, but
I would do Roblox.
maybe I don't know. Maybe there's some interesting Discord. Nah, Discord isn't really hypey though. Yeah, maybe I need to find a couple different platforms to look at. But I really liked the Metaverse Day because I get to show them the clip of the holodeck from Star Trek, and they do not. First of all, they do not know. They've like heard of a holodeck. Maybe they don't know where that term comes from. They don't know about Star
Really?
Trek. They don't know it's a thing. Like, they don't know that literally the imagination of the metaverse that Mark Zuckerberg created is like him kind of resurrecting this idea of virtual space that was literally created by a sci-fi TV show in the 1980s. Like, they don't know that. And it's almost like informative in that sense. So it feels like a PSA every time I do it. But the metaverse does feel played out. It's true.
There used to be this principle in user-generated content called TTP.
Why are you talking about time to penis again? Why do you love to bring this up?
I did not mention it.
What do
I said,
you mean? It just came out of your mouth.
and so and that I like to throw that in the mix because students find that
This is just Yost's class day about time to penis. Don't worry about it.
it's like there's no subtext here. It's my question, like we talked about this before, but so like in these spaces where we can conceivably create and express ourselves in any which way that we want, where's the other side of the narrative? Historically, I studied modding for years. TTP, that's like a thing. Like that happens within seconds. A new game comes out. Where is that in Roblox? Who's sitting there
Who's
repressing all those penises?
Oh, like moderation could
Yeah,
be
like
the
what?
key.
Like who's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
who's
yeah. Ooh,
watching?
that's a grim fucking topic. Yeah,
Yeah,
who's
you
sitting
would like
there?
that. You
Ugh,
would like that.
ugh, that's such a bummer. Usually we just like to laugh at capitalism, right, in my class, and like this
Oh,
is
it's
like,
oh, it's,
whoa.
it's not fun.
Dealing with like, yeah, user moderation on Discord or something. Also, it's not like hypey, right? Anyway, yes, we've been talking for so long. I think our producer is gonna die. And also, I think we have
Running out of
to,
credits.
yeah, like roll screen wipe. We are bad podcast hosts because we just spent like an hour and 15 talking about our own classes. It's fine. There you go. Everyone got a real deep dive. Do you wanna? We got it. Yeah, we could do this all day. And if we were gonna, I'd rather do it over like 3 or 4 beers. But you
Yes.
know, so this is part one. So what is your goal to change for your next syllable for based on this conversation?
Well, so I constantly work on cleaning up my lectures, and like I dislike strongly material that doesn't gel with the crowd anymore. Like it's almost to the point of being self-conscious. Like I feel like a dinosaur when I talk about some of these things, and so I blow through the Atari things because whatever. That's at best a documentary for them. And so when it comes to like current events, for instance, like last semester, I made a whole thing about Lotto being this Atlanta rapper, but then also a big fan of The Sims. And then when The Sims turned 25 years old, they had Lotto come in and they live streamed. And Lotto is not as well known as Doja Cat, perhaps. My students had never heard of this person. And I was so excited because my buddy, he does her marketing. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to be cool again. I was not cool. So I'm always looking for those nuggets. So it's really about those applications, like
You're
where
looking for those opportunities to like seem
again to
cool.
be relevant
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, and that's so that's really it. But fundamentally, I've been inserting more of that third era of games as a platform, and so it's those conversations like you pointed out correctly, like some of those like the metaverse. I have a whole bunch of things about Web3. And so I constantly look for like how do I integrate these topics, these current events into a lecture or a part of a lecture. Technology for me is really sort of turned a little stale. Like, so my thinking has been a little sour. That's why when we talk about moderation, like I'm a little like, I think it's important, but it's like, it's not really an upper. It's more of a downer
Yeah,
lecture.
yeah.
So what's the cool thing? What's the fun thing? And so, and you can always come back to Steam in some ways. Like that seems to be still like where all the cool kids are. So I'm in general terms focused on that, but I feel like my cultural references are always a little dated. Like the games industry crowd is like running away in some ways, and that part I can't quite put my finger on. I don't know
Hmm.
why that is. So I guess like getting a closer read on what is relevant to them is always on my mind. Is that the same for you, or do you just kind of push through and make
I mean,
yourself?
I'm a historian. I am accustomed and comfortable with being unpopular. It's like
That's the whole point.
I'm gonna tell you a bunch of shit you don't care about, and then I'm gonna test you on it. You know, so yeah, like first day of lecture, they have to learn about the fucking Department of Defense computer funding, right? They don't want to know about that. Too bad. You're gonna
That's
learn about it.
a real cold welcome. Yeah.
Like that's yeah, like the Cold War guys, buckle up.
What
Because
class is
I have a
this?
lot of confidence that the arc carries through the overall thing. So like I don't, and I also find that if it's a game thing, it will sustain attention kind of no matter what it is. I've not had that problem in the games class. I think they find the old stuff fascinating and the new stuff really cool too. So
I'm sure you tell it well.
I think a big labor upgrade is needed. I want to globalize that lecture and I got to rethink Hype Day. But
It's an interesting one. I mean, my final thing there was like I've been trying to inch into like fashion and like more mainstream media as they adopt games or game culture in some way. Is that a business model? Is there a strategy behind this? Like the Mario movie, everybody's seen it. Okay, so but then like, does it make sense for these cross pollinations of Louis Vuitton and League of Legends, or I think of it, or Gucci or whatever one of those? You know, Like that intersection, like students love that one. It's just like I need more material, so
Yeah.
maybe that's the way to go. I don't know.
All right,
Very cool.
man.
This is very helpful. We should do this again next semester so that I can improve always.
There we go. Let's. Do we wanna pwn and own?
Let's do it. What do you want to? You pick.
Well, I already have my pwn, and it was that a story came out. I think I saw it on Aftermath that you'll soon be able to use buy now pay later spending on in-game items courtesy Zola. So I think that payday lending for gun skins sucks. That's what I have. That's what I have to say about that.
That's not your vibe.
No, I think we know. We have all the sociological data we need on the fact that these kinds of services push people into debt. More. Like further and further, that they actually wind up targeting the people in the kind of lowest economic register under the guise of being about financial empowerment, which is certainly how Zola framed it. And I gotta say, folks, if you don't know what Zola is, like if you're a game educator or something, I found out recently a bunch of my friends who teach game design were like, when we were at Games for Change, and Zola was one of the sponsors, they were like, I don't know what that company is. And I was like, that is a company that is coming up with ways of basically being able to treat a game like a credit card. Like that's the model. Like, how do we financialize this for more take? And
So you disagree with them?
I'm weary, because you're not just providing a service, you're you're pressuring the nozzle, right? And you're trying to get it to your own advantageous outcome, which is like more spend. And again, we have nowhere else to siphon money from anymore. It just, I don't know, it fucking sucks. It's just it's more of this kind of, everything just feels like getting a bill all the fucking time, and it blows.
That's a bummer. I will push back a little bit and do say that a big part of the larger ecosystem has been sort of strained by dominance from the platforms, and they are the ones imposing a lot of restrictions and policies that are sort of limiting creativity and also commercialization. And so alternative payment routes, either on your own website as a mobile game maker, or if you're too small to do that, like having a third party like an Xsolla build that, it does offset some of the constraint. And so Apple lost the recent lawsuit, and it's likely that payment rates will probably drop down from 30% to, let's say, 20, if you can get 10% of your money at a lower rate, 10% of your microtransactions at a low rate, that goes back into the companies. Now, you're right, of course, that hugely benefits and disproportionately so the large successful companies already. But these alternative payment routes and methods, they do give a little bit more breathing room to this medium and smaller sized ones, at least on paper. We'll see if it all comes to play, but there is a broader context here. So while I totally agree with you that there's always something to look out for, I've worked with lots of payment companies over the years, and they're not always kosher. There's always, not all of them are as upfront about stuff, and there's sort of a documented history around that. But the idea that you can only live and die by whatever Apple or Google or Valve tells you,
Yeah,
that's
but
the other extreme.
that isn't that is. I mean, it's a counterpoint, but it's one entirely. It's not about the buy now pay later as a model itself, right?
So you're arguing the model, not so much
Yeah. I think that I'm not I'm not being like no one should. I mean, well,
no one should have money.
Everyone should ride the bus for free, right? But that model is especially pernicious, and to my points
it
earlier,
copies Klarna, right? You remember that company Klarna
yeah.
with a K? They do that everywhere.
This has been endemic in all sorts of online shopping. Now I can buy something for $10 and I can pay it in 4 installments of $250 for some reason. And what begins to get rolled out on top of that? very slowly is now you can pay even smaller amounts, but you can pay interest on them. And it's just another way of kind of gamifying debt, right? Into smaller and smaller chunks. And it's just a bummer to see, like, it's about trying to push this model into every market into which it already doesn't exist. And it's like, there's no social gain here, right? We know what's going on.
I see. I think that's fascinating. It's the
And then they piss down your leg and they tell you it's raining. This is about giving customers more choice, you know? That is the title of a Judge Judy book, and don't you forget it.
that sounds like a hype day right there. Very good. Okay,
All
so
right,
that's
what's your fucking silver lining on the game
my
industry?
silver lining was, I mean, there's sort of like there's two kind of things. And one of them is just the appetite. The amuse bouche is the announcement of the actors that are going to be in the live action Zelda movie. Nintendo announced today. Very exciting.
I didn't
I
know
think.
there was a live action Zelda movie
Oh,
happening.
you're kidding! It is apparently
Is
Bo
it
Bragason and
Timothy
Benjamin.
Chalamet? Is he going to be in it?
No, they're like sort of that vibe, but younger.
Oh.
So feel free to
Oh, look at that little boy.
yeah, they're like children. So, but it's like I find it exciting because you know, live action
Failing to
Zelda.
cast Hunter Schafer as Princess Zelda is a hate crime. That's what I have to say.
Hunter Schafer. Okay, googling. Yeah, that's a good Zelda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, hate crime, little strong. I mean,
You
look,
might want to read
maybe.
that Wikipedia page, babe. I'll tell you more later.
Oh boy. Oh lord. There's more than just the image on Google search. No, okay, but so then that, or maybe Hunter was busy with another role. I mean, I just learned the other day that Michael Madsen was supposed to be in one of the Tarantino movies, and he ended up doing Wyatt Earp. So turn around for him too. So, anyways, I'll leave it alone because I feel like I'm about to like get into my own hate crime, but not on the receiving end. So sorry, so sorry. I have no knowledge of this. Moving on. So I'm excited that this is happening. It's a creative risk that Nintendo's taking, and then famously, of course, watching Chelsea beat Paris Saint Germain on the 13th. One day before OG Bastille Day, we then saw a stage with President Trump standing next to all these hardworking men. And it's just beautiful because, like he's not supposed to be on stage. Like, don't be on stage. You didn't do the work. Don't be standing there celebrating like you did anything at all. But the fact that the whole stadium just booed him, and then whatever the supervisor of FIFA, that guy, it's just like the booing was just so cathartic. He's like, yes. So sports and play is always leveraged as a tool, blah blah blah. But the fact that the audience was just not buying any of it was fantastic. I love that. It was so like I felt cleaner after it. That's my silver lining. People are still alive and kicking. They're not
Yeah,
stupid
they'll
yet.
still tell the president he saw. I mean, JD Vance, his family got booed at Disney World, and I feel great about it.
Oh
So
wow,
keep it up. Keep
that's
it up.
fantastic. They might say nature's healing, but you
Hate
know
is cleansing. That's
there you go.
all
That's it. I
right.
can't top that.
Just on that note, my brain is melted. I can't wait to think about the syllabus. Thank you for that jam. I will see you next week. Good night and good game.